I call this order of the Southwestern Board of Education together at 6:30. Will we stand for the Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the roll call.
Daniel Winston.
Present.
Lori Hicks is absent. Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Cheryl Fletcher. Present. Misha Early.
Present.
Amanda Fletcher present. Shirley.
Item on the agenda is the approval of agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda? There are none. The agenda will be as written. Next item on the agenda is superintendent communication.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a handful of communications to share with the Board of Education this evening. First and foremost, some of you may have recognized that board member Lori Hicks has not been able to join us for the past couple of board meetings. And that is due to a recent surgery that she had. And she's going to miss a couple of more board meetings, and she wanted me to share that this evening, that she is recovering well, and she looks forward to returning to the board table as soon as possible. So please continue to think positive thoughts and prayers as she continues to recover, and we look forward to her returning to the board table here soon. Additionally, I spent some time last week at Fisher Elementary School observing teaching and learning, and was thoroughly impressed with the teaching and learning that I was able to observe last week while at Fisher Elementary School, especially in terms of just the overall responsiveness of our Fisher staff to individual student needs while being at Fisher. So kudos to the Fisher staff for the great work that they're doing. I would also like to lift up Michelle DiLorenzo, who was recognized as October Staff Member of the Month for Vandenberg Elementary School. Mrs. Hughes and her team shares that Michelle DiLorenzo continues to go above and beyond in servicing students all across the building, and not just the students that are on her class roster. So congratulations to Michelle DiLorenzo for being Staff Member of the Month for October for Vandenberg. And then additionally, congratulations to the Thurston High School varsity football team for making the playoffs for the first time since 2019. We have a member of the coaching staff here with us this evening. So helmets off to the entire football program, to the entire athletic program, the coaching staff, but also to the student athletes of Thurston High School for qualifying for the playoffs for the first time since 2019. And we certainly also want to acknowledge the incredible work done by the Thurston High School marching band, as well as the cheer team, for their support and encouragement of the Thurston High School football program's success in rain or shine. And we wish our Eagles well on Friday night against Walled Lake Western for the first round of the playoffs. And that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is board communications. Do I have any communications from the board?
To the chair.
Yes.
Trunk or treat at Vandenberg is this Friday at 5 p.m. I believe, which is October 27th. And then on Monday, October 30th, the district will have a table set up at Claude Ellison for trail or treat, which is sponsored by the township.
Do I have any other board members? I have a couple. First of all, I'd like to apologize to staff, students, and community for my behavior at the last board meeting. I learned something from that, and I hope that the community will understand. Thank you so much. I have another announcement on November the 9th through the 12th is the annual leadership conference in Lansing, and I will be attending that. I also went to the Wayne County Association of School Board meetings, and it was very, we had 3 people that gave presentations, and it was very interesting. And they also have what they call Together, what is it?
Talent Together.
Talent Together. And I'm telling you, it is really amazing. It is for parapros who would like to become teachers. And Wayne Risa and will be helping them to pay for the cost of becoming teachers. So I thought that was very interesting. And I talked with Jason, and he said some of our parapros are participating in that program, and I am very glad.
And if I may, Madam President?
Yes.
And that's due to the support of Mr. Kinsey and Ms. Amy Davidson as well, that we have a couple of staff members that are taking advantage of that Talent Together initiative. So,
Thank you so much, Mr. Kinsey and Mrs. Davidson, for that. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, topics related to the agenda. Are there any? There are none. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to adopt consent agenda?
To the chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution.
Support. It's been moved by Mrs. Cheryl Flesher and supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. In nays, six ayes, 0 nays. Next item on the agenda is SREA, SROPA, and SRF reports. Is that you, Mrs. Kincaid?
Well, for the SROPA, yes.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a little blurb from each of the, well, for 3 of the elementaries, the middle school and the high school. At Adams, the office is under a little renovation. No, let me start over. Adams' office got a little renovation done, but it's not quite finished. We are waiting on some cupboards, but it's looking fabulous. The new lighting system has a dimmer switch, what the secretary loves. So it's not like blinding light, but it's just the right light. New chairs in the front office, cabinets in the workroom are a blessing. We got a state-of-the-art intercom and video door unlock system put in, and she can finally see who is at the door. When you unlock the door, it speaks in a British accent, saying that the door is open. She said it cracks her up every time she hears it, but it's the little things in life, right? So she said their PTO is fantastic, and tonight they're hosting their annual trunk or treat. Also, she walked into a full office full of spirit wear organized by the PTO. She said they're so good to them and they treat her well also. That's from Adams. Jefferson is saying they hosted their fall feast this past Friday and everyone had a blast. They had a great turnout of the kids. They went around playing different games and trick-or-treating at the trunk or treat as well. They also hosted their first ever fun run and raised over $5,000.
Awesome.
And from Vandenberg, she said the office is a busy place. Although it has slowed down from the initial busyness that comes from the start of the school year, they are now busy with the fall schedule. She's working on completing her MICR report for grades K through 5, and it's due November 1st. The building is preparing for their first annual wide field trip of the year to Three Cedars Farm in Northfield on October 26th, and that's for pre-K through 5th grade. And their chaperones will attend. At this point, 128 volunteer registrations have been processed for parents and chaperones. They are expecting 300 to attend. The office is receiving candy contributions for the annual trunk or treat. And the camp notifications have been distributed for their 5th grade camp as well, which is scheduled for March 18th through 27th. They said they had a successful book fair. Chromebooks have been distributed, and they have started book checkout in the media center. Got a lot going on. Lots. And then there's Pierce. Pierce is off to a great start with a new principal and assistant principal. Their students are getting to know both Mrs. Jackson and Mr. Perrin. And they're settling in quite well. Jumpstart went very smoothly, with some parents saying it was the best one yet. I didn't ask her what she did. Her open house was held September 14th, and it was well attended. We have implemented a new PBIS rewarding system for students. Staff and students split up into 3 different houses to represent their house every Friday. It's a fun way for us to get to know each other on a smaller scale, and the students love it when we host our assemblies. We have also had our first activity night coming up October 27th, and the students are excited about it as well. Go Eagles! And their first parent-teacher conference will be held on November 9th. And last but not least, Thurston. Thurston is gearing up for their first ever PSAT, SAT test that will be given online. And the Thurston Eagles, of course, the football team, are headed to the playoffs after a thrilling victory from 46-0 over Detroit Western this past weekend. In addition to that, thanks to the board, thank you board, for the bowling team is now an official varsity sport for the 2003-2004 school year. Thurston implemented a no cell phone policy, or no cell phone / electronics device policy, and it's going surprisingly well. All staff are adhering to the policy and are thrilled. This allows students to engage in the classrooms without any distractions. Most teachers have commented that actual conversations and interactions with students during instructional time has skyrocketed. And I can piggyback on that, because when I walk through the halls or have to take something to a classroom, kids are actually talking together, like in groups. It's awesome. It makes more work for Nikki and Danielle, but it's having a positive effect on the classroom, so it's worth it. And our first parent-teachers conference will be held this Thursday, October 26th, with our progress report number 1 being available on that day as well to students and parents. And that is it from the elementary and middle school Thursday.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Nothing from us today.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is presentation of Thurston High School athletic signage and advertising.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Athletic Director Mr. Lawrence Reeves to present to the Board of Education about some possibilities when we think about signage and advertising within the athletic stadium. And so with that, I will turn it over to Athletic Director Reeves. Also in front of each board member, there is supplemental information that Mr. Reeves will be referring to for you to comb through as he presents to the board. And then following that was also provided for the board's reference for its discussion following Mr. Reeves' presentation. Mr. Rudy is here with him as well. Should the board have any follow-up questions following Mr. Reeves' presentation leading into this discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to Athletic Director Mr. Reeves.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. Glad to be here. What this is Power Ad, and what Power Ad is, it's a third-party advertising system that works with schools to provide resources without cost. So what that means basically is it's a company that goes into the community and gets sponsorships from various businesses that are local and takes those sponsorships and puts them on ads that we would display through whichever means that we choose to do. The means that they have include windscreens, scoreboards, and scores tables. Those are the primary ways that they show their ads. We looked at all these, and the one that was most appealing to us were the windscreens. Currently, we have worked with this company before. The previous athletic director, Shambo, had purchased a scorers table in which, if you've been to a basketball game, you see the ads on the scores table. That came from Power Ad. And if anybody's familiar, I know that Board Member Winston frequents the basketball games, especially with his son, who's one of our stars. He's seen the scores table, and it has the different ads on there. Initially, we were looking to improve the aesthetics of the Redford field, our football field, and with this company, we would be able to do it without going into budget funds. And in actuality, what also is a benefit is that after it's paid off, we get revenue from the company that's generated from the ads that come in, which is happening now with the scores table that we have. Because the scores table is purchased with the ads that were brought in. So for instance, say we get $30,000 in ads, 50% goes to the company, 50% goes to whatever resource that we attain from getting those ads. The scores table is paid off from the funds that we got from the ads that were generated, and now we have a surplus of funds that we get from any ads that come from that scores table, or anybody who gets an ad on that scores table. Right now we have $4,000 that should be allocated. There's currently $2,000 there, but the other $2,000 is going to come in once the other ads pay for their current ads on the scores table. So what this brings us to is what we want to do, and that's the windscreens around the Thurston football field and track, of course. We're thinking behind the scoreboard, all the way around the home bleachers, all the way until the concession stand and team area, but we would want to put windscreens. On the windscreens, we have one section that would have Thurston branding, the T, the Eagle, home of the Eagles, and our blue and white. And on the other portion of the windscreen, you would have various ads from different local businesses that would sign up with Power Ad. We would give an expectation to Power Ad that any ads that we have would need to be something that's a high school student or high school family would be able to attain. So basically, ads that any 18-year-old could consume. So things like liquor or dispensaries and things of that nature wouldn't be put on our ads, but different local businesses would have the opportunity to get an ad at Thurston in which we'd be able to generate revenue. And also the main purpose would be to improve the aesthetics of our facilities without having to go in district budget. One thing I can say is there's proof in it because we had it already with the scores table, and also at different places in talking to athletic directors who are colleagues at the MIAAA conference that I've gone to. There was a presentation on this, and there were several athletic directors who said the same thing, that it was a way to improve their stadium, to improve the aesthetics is what they generally wanted at first, but after they had it for a few years, revenue started coming in. You see a picture of a scoreboard on here. We decided not to go that route because it involves a lot more debt that you would have to incur, but the windscreens are something doable that when we talk to the rep, we believe could be paid off in 2 to 3 years. And after that 2 to 3 years, we'd be able to see revenue that would come from those ads. If you look in your packet, you'll see some different pictures of how this has been done around Michigan. I believe Farmington's in there. and Rockland. And you can see just how it works. There'd be a part of the advertisement or of the windscreen that shows the branding of the school, and then there's parts of it that show the ads. And what it does is take out some time for us to go hunt these ads down, get professionals to do it, and improve the aesthetics of our stadium. So with that being said, if there's any questions, I can answer those regarding this endeavor. Yes, sir.
What's the timeline on this? I mean, is this something that you guys are trying to get going immediately or 6 months from now? What's the thought process?
The timeline would be next fall. So we already met with the rep. I've met with them before earlier in the year, and Mr. Rudy and I met with them recently. The timeline would be for next football season, the fall sports season, in which we would come in and have the stadium with the windscreens across. You've probably seen it at different stadiums. The most I can tell you, if you look at Ford Field where the Lions play, they got the whole Lions going across. It would be something to take away the open gate. We almost had, like the last few games that have been rainy, we've had drive-through spectators who kind of pull their cars up and watch through the fence. It would eliminate that, but it also would give you more of a stadium feel and improve the aesthetics when you're inside at Thurston Field. And as you know, it's an arms race, and I commend Linda Earl. She's been working with us. We've had to purchase some things to be up to standard, and this would be something that we can improve the aesthetics without going into district budget to do it, as well as find some ways to generate some revenue. But we would be looking at next fall for the windscreens to be installed. Yes, sir.
Another question. So outside gate only or inside gate also around the track area, or just outside where spectators are looking through the gate?
We're talking about inside the gate.
Yeah, but
So-
I'm saying, we have the big gate and then we have the smaller gate that's around the track. Are
Yeah.
we just talking about just the outward gate, not around the track area at all?
So we're talking about, let's take the scoreboard at the center.
Yes,
Behind the scoreboard, that gate,
yes.
that entire gate, pretty much the length of the field.
Okay,
And then, once that's done, we go around the bleachers on this side, around to where the team rooms are. So where you go outside the bleachers when you get down to that area where people come from, the concession stand, the
Right.
team rooms. Outside of those bleachers, all the way to the team rooms, we're looking to put them there too.
okay.
But we looked around, ideally we'd like to, enclose the entire field, but it would be a conversation with the rep to see, okay, what would that cost? What would the proof be? Because we would get a proof of it, of what it would look like, and what would we be getting ourselves into. Right now, that seems to be the best outlook, and then as we started, we could see what things are offered. Mr. Rudy also brought up what are the grades of windscreen we could get, so all of those things would come into play when we talk to the rep.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who approves the ads?
The ads go through direct, it's a third party. So Power Ad would get the ads. Now what we would do is tell them if we want to say, okay, this place is off limits, this place is off limits, then they have to adhere to that.
Okay.
And we already stated that anything that's not school, that wouldn't be appropriate for school, we tell our kids don't wear anything that promotes alcohol, drugs or anything like that. The same would go for our ad company and saying that these are the things we approve, these are the things we don't want. If there was a conflict of interest with this particular business in the community that we didn't want to have advertised out there, we could easily say, we don't want funds from this company, and stay away from them.
Would they work with our superintendent? And why I'm asking that is because we have a really good inclusive policy already in place that we wouldn't have to change unless it doesn't have approval from our superintendent. Right now, it's set up that the superintendent would approve those ads to make sure that it fell in line with South Redford beliefs and things like that. That would be just one of my chief concerns, is that our superintendent has the final say over what ads are allowed or not.
I think what could be done is meeting with Superintendent Bobrovsky and asking what do you want, what is the vision, and giving that to the company. And they would have to adhere to whatever we wanted, because currently they don't tell me what ads we have, they just show up on the board. but we've never had anything that's been out of the ordinary. I think there's some car dealerships on there, there's some local Redford businesses, but most of the time, they know, and I think they've known from the past of what we would accept and what we would not accept. If there ever was indeed something that was a conflict of interest that we did not want and felt went against the school's policies and ethics, then we'd say take it down, and they would take it down.
And it's no cost to us, it's all out of revenue from the ads, right?
There's no cost to us. It does cost us labor and time. We would have to put the windscreens up. We would have to keep the upkeep, probably buy some zip ties for them. And that's something we would figure out with facilities and how we would maintain them. But there is no cost to us. The only cost to us is that it's a 50-50 split with the ad revenue that goes until the items are paid off. Once the items are paid off, then the revenue comes to us.
Okay, and you mentioned there's 2 schools in Michigan? that
Well,
we do
there's
this for?
several schools in Michigan.
Is it possible for you to give us a list? In
Yes,
case we ever wanted to drive by one of the schools and just see how it looks, you
Sure.
know, on their football field?
sure. What would be the best way for me to send you a list? Because I could get you a list of all the Michigan schools.
Send it to Jason.
I'll send it to Jason. I'll get that to you this week.
If you'd be so kind to include Chris too.
Will do. I'll get that to you this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you all. Appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss Thurston High School, consider Jefferson, Vandenberg, and Pierce Middle School medical equipment. Mr. Bauer.
Madam President, did you want to have any conversation amongst the board surrounding agenda item number 11
Does anybody
on
have
what
any-
Lawrence just shared?
Does anybody have any questions or discussions on the athletic signage? No.
Okay. With that then, Madam President, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 12 then, if I may. As you just read. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Thank you. At the board meeting on October 9th, 2023, the board discussed the Jefferson, Vandenberg, and Pierce Middle School Mechanical Equipment Project, Part 1. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The company that is recommended for the work required is Chillers Thermalnetics for $185,924. A 10% contingency, total expenses not to exceed $204,516 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with the project. The bid award would be paid for out of the 2021 bond. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Madam President,
Yes,
I move the
ma'am.
adoption of the resolution.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been adopted by Mrs. Early and supported by Mr. Winston. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 6 ayes, 0 nays. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda is discuss elementary school open enrollment. Mr.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very much looking forward to hearing the board's dialogue this evening surrounding the possibility of expanding the district's open enrollment. Over the past several years, the South Redford School District has experienced a decline of over 300 students in the past several years when we think about the number of students that we have. The most viable option for school districts in terms of generating additional revenue is to explore ways that we could possibly consider increasing our student enrollment. I've had several conversations with board members. There's additional data in front of board members here this evening in advance of tonight's meeting about how we can do things differently or better here within the South Redford School District, and that the possibility of expanding our open enrollment We have an incredibly gifted, talented, and qualified staff with exceptional programming. And we have more supports now for students than we've ever had before. We have room for more students. We talked about the class size, and we can all recall times where schools were more at capacity than they are now. And we have families that often share with our staff that they would prefer to send their children to the South Redford School District. Most notably, particularly in grades 3, 4, and 5. It's absolutely heartbreaking oftentimes when we're in a position where we have to turn away families just because their child is a 3rd grader, a 4th grader, or a 5th grader, when we have an outstanding staff and exceptional programming where we can best meet the needs of students here in the South Redford School District. And so that is why this evening, when we think about a more competitive market for students with more schooling options, and an increasing average age of Michiganders here in the state of Michigan with declining birth rates and the loss of population in Wayne County and also throughout the state of Michigan. I just think it's worthy of board consideration of doing things perhaps differently than we've done them in the past, and very much looking forward to the board's discussion this evening as the board entertains this possibility. And with that, Madam President, I will turn it back over to you for the board's discussion.
All right, who is going to open up the discussion of increasing our district from 3rd grade to 5th grade open enrollment?
I'll speak. So, Chair,
Yes.
I think that we should at least do this. I have said for years, for anyone who would listen, that South Redford has done a great job of having great programs, but no one knows about them, even within our district. When my son went to Thurston from Pierce, he only had been there one time. No one really reached out to him to tell him about Thurston. And I hear that from so many people. Why go here? Why go to Pierce? Why go to Thurston? And within our own district, but those outside are more inclined to come in. And so I think that with the enrollment dropping the way it is in our surrounding districts, especially to the north and to the east, we have a great opportunity to pull in some high-achieving kids who may not have great school options to come here to South Redford and get a great education. So I don't even feel like this should be like a difficult decision. I mean, because we could have high-quality kids, not kids that we have to worry about, but good, solid students and families who will be willing to bring their students in South Redford. I mean, I just don't want us to wait till we are in dire straits and we have 600 kids and then decide, we need to do something. I mean, this is a good opportunity to start adding to our enrollment and not continue to see this downward spiral and then wait till we're on the edge of the cliff and then try to make a decision. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer to me that we need to do something last year. So, I would say go to high school, but I know we're not at that level, but so I'll just go with 5th grade right now. So, yes.
Anyone else?
To the chair.
Yes.
Years ago, I'll tell a little history. We went through a really long process when we opened our borders for kindergarten through grade 2. And it wasn't just a board decision. We brought in the community as a decision. We surveyed the community to see what the people that owned houses here, that paid the taxes, felt. And I think we at least owe, as we move forward, to send a survey out and see what the community feels about us extending our borders. Because they're the ones that are invested here. Even though I know our numbers are down, there's other avenues to get kids here. But I think we owe it to our community. So as a board member, I'd like to see our community surveyed to see, do they have a problem with that? I think it's it's a very heavy topic. That's my comment.
Anyone else?
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
well, sort of kind of what Ms. Fletcher just said, but I kind of lean a different way with that because a large portion of our kids in this city that don't even go to our schools, they all go to public schools in Detroit. They go to Cass, they go to King. My next door neighbor, I watched those kids grow up since they were born. They go to King. And that's just what it is. People are going to come to where they feel that their kids need to get the education. Although we want to look out for the community, the bottom line is providing education for the children. So if you have a child that lives in a neighborhood that can't particularly go to don't want to go to a certain school and has an opportunity to come to a school, he or she can get a top graded education. And that's the bottom line for me, my opinion. And when you got kids that want, and parents want their kids to have a good, solid education, you won't have any problems out of them anyway. So, I mean, we can also put stipulations on that where if you come to this district and go to these schools, you're not allowed to get in certain types of trouble, or you're just gonna be told, thank you, but no thank you. Same way we would do with a child that lives here. If he does some things, or she does some things she couldn't do, we send them to a different school. They have to find them another school to go to, pretty much. So it's kind of the same. Just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
To the chair, I have multiple questions, but if other people want to speak first, I will defer to the board.
Go ahead.
Wait, no question. He talked about stipulations, AJ talked about stipulations. What would that look like if let's say we did open it K through 5? What would be in place for us to safeguard things? Like, what could we do?
I mean, the same way they did you have to sign up for AP classes, or you have to do those. We would have to sit and discuss what would be a guideline.
But we also would have to, that would have to be approved by the state too, right? Or
Correct. We submit to Wayne County RESA, which gets passed along to the state based on what the board decides to do as pertains to open enrollment. And that declaration gets made every winter, so January, February timeframe in advance of the upcoming school year. Similar to what Board Member Johnson shared, that would be an option. I do know some other districts that what they have done as a precursor is they've written into policy that there must be a review of a student's behavioral record prior to enrollment.
so if we did that,
in
we
their
could
current
put
district.
those things in place.
We could, yeah, and then we would certainly design a process in terms of how we would do that, with guidance from the board on its policy, but that's another option too.
Thank you.
To the chair, unless you
Go
want to
ahead.
push your question.
Mine are long, so I'll wait.
Okay. We're talking 5th grade, and I just haven't seen a ton of 5th graders that, if we have the right parameters, should be an issue coming into the district. If someone's been kicked out of another district, we probably won't let them in here anyway. So I'm thinking the majority of kids that we would be coming to our district would be kids who want a better education, not those who are trying to escape another education, in my mind. So, I mean, of course, there's going to be those few, but I think we'll be able to, see from their record they got kicked out of these two schools, and we're not letting you in here either. So I think a majority of the kids that I just know that I talk to around, it is like, I want a better education. So I think that for the most part, we will be able to get high quality 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that will be able to help us. Because I just, like I said, our enrollment is, not well. And it's like, we keep waiting, we're gonna have a whole nother conversation, you know,
You're
and, you know, I've been talking about this for years, so I think that the fact that we're at the table having this conversation is well overdue. And I think that, you know, too much talking is gonna lead us to a whole different conversation of, you know, budget issues and other type of stuff, so, I'm done. Go ahead, Amanda.
Anybody else first?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay. First question for Jason. Do you have any numbers on how many families or children are interested in enrolling in the district that aren't currently?
We don't, but there's a fair amount every year that our principals, as well as administrative assistants, oftentimes our support staff, as well as our teaching staff, field every year, mostly surrounding what would it take to also enroll my third, fourth, or fifth grader. So no concrete data, but that is the common question and the phone calls that Chris and I get from principals, from administrative assistants, as well as just all staff. So it's certainly notable, but I don't have any concrete data.
Okay, follow up to that statement. Farmington Public Schools has a policy that allows employees of the district to enroll their kids in the district if they live outside of the district. Is that something we would want to try first before opening the borders to everyone? Is to start with current employees and their children to see how that goes?
We have that currently.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would continue to have that unless the board is thinking otherwise.
What is our district currently doing to retain student enrollment and increase it?
Yeah, so we've done quite a bit, and I know there's been a handful of board updates surrounding the marketing efforts that we've had. So approximately a year and a half ago, we converted most of our hard copy advertising and marketing over to digital. And so we do a very active digital marketing campaign frequently with our marketing partner to try to attract and retain students here within the South Redford School District to have a larger digital footprint. We've also retained some of the hard copy advertising that we do as well. You know, we try to appeal to the surrounding districts for a number of reasons, just in terms of the importance of attendance, more so, in terms of proximity. And we also highlight the outstanding programming as well as staffing that we have here throughout the district. I know many of you have seen those mailers. We've also done digital newsletters as well. That, you know, up to a year and a half ago, those were non-existent. We've also done the large signage. We've also done the yard signs as well. We've installed QR readers. We meet quarterly with our marketing team and we actually review those analytics. And so with that, we know that the efforts are working, and that's why our student enrollment this year is approximately flat. But it's because of those efforts. If we wouldn't have done those efforts, we would have lost even more students.
So do you have data or percentages on what specific marketing techniques are working versus which ones we might need to stop using or tweak a little bit? Is anybody tracking that?
Yep. Those are being tracked and those are reviewed quarterly. Yep. We do have some of those analytics. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what is the marketing piece that's the deciding factor for a family about why they've chosen South Redford or not chosen South Redford. So we don't have exactness on that, but we do have quarterly analytics that we review in terms of what's picking up the most traction, what gets reposted, what gets most shared. Additionally, one of the efforts that we made in conjunction with Amy Davidson is we dedicated a full portion this summer of an enrollment coordinator that was all they did this summer was reach out to families in terms of attraction as well as retention and just walking families through the enrollment process, which also paid large dividends in terms of retaining the students that we have.
So are we going to have a presentation on that or meet that person? Because I'm not sure if we've met that person yet.
Everybody in this room knows that team quite well, but that's something that if that was the will of the board, we could certainly discuss further. If that was something that the board wanted to make more public, we could do that. Some of those marketing efforts are perhaps, ideas and information that we wouldn't necessarily want to share with neighboring districts, but if that's the will of the board and we wanted to highlight things more publicly, we could certainly go that route if that is what the board so chooses to do.
Anyone else? Yes,
She's not.
No, not, but if you have a question, you can go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
do that.
No, I have them numbered. I wasn't here for the last time the borders were open, so I have questions. If we have open enrollment outside the district for students who come from higher income neighborhoods, and we're currently on that free and reduced lunch thing, how would that affect those students? Would they be allowed to have the free and reduced lunch?
They would. Part of the state legislature's most recent budget that they approved is lunch for all students regardless of socioeconomic background. It's unknown if the legislature would continue that in the future, but that's something that we'll be monitoring closely. And then we would satisfy whatever eligibility requirements might be there from the state and from the feds.
Thank you. What about transportation? Will outside students need to be bused in? Do we do that currently with the other grade levels that are from outside districts?
We do not do that currently. That would be something for the board to consider if they wanted to do that. Right now, for the approximately 500 families that take advantage of the school choice options currently within the South Redford School District, all of those families are responsible for transportation on their own. And we would look to do similarly unless the board is thinking otherwise.
Okay. So there are statistics that show that students who transfer to non-resident district have a lower average MSTEP score. So what would we do to make sure that those students are successful once they do come in, as far as testing and our curriculum?
Yeah, we would certainly do benchmark assessments as well as review students' CA60s prior to their arrival here within the South Redford School District. Thanks to the board's ongoing efforts, we have dedicated instructional coaches as well as interventionists at all of our buildings that would design an individualized educational plan, an EDP, if you will, an educational development plan. And then also with the incredibly dedicated staff that we have, we would follow our multiple tiers of support system that we have in terms of the interventions that students would require in order to be successful here within the South Redford School District.
Okay, last one, I swear. Currently, what is the retention rate when the kids come in from K through 2 of them reaching and staying with us all the way through graduation?
Very low. And in fact, recently the legislature has reversed their actions on the third grade retention law, so it's no longer the law of the land in the state of Michigan. However, we were certainly in compliance with the law of third grade retention. It's been a few each year, but that was always in conjunction with the school district, the teacher, as well as the individual family. But I'm only aware of a handful that were retained, and it was a mutually agreed upon decision from the teacher, the guardian, as well as from the district. So very, very few. And so even with the legislative change, we would continue to follow a similar process here within the South Redford School District.
Was that your question?
I don't think so.
I think Member Fletcher's question was, how many students, schools of choice, K2, stay with us through graduation?
Yeah, that was
Not
my-
I thought you were talking about grade level
I thought you were
retention.
asking about
No,
third
no, no,
Grade
no. The
level.
outside enrollment currently
Okay.
for the young little ones.
Okay.
How many reach
I think it's a different question.
graduation?
That is.
Or if we have a statistic for that somewhere.
So,
That's
thank you.
completely
Thank you-
different, yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
I was gonna be like,
Although
no.
the answer is approximately the same. The vast majority of families that come to the South Redford School District remain within the South Redford School District and graduate from the South Redford School District. So very, very few families come to South Redford and then leave through school of choice. Thank you for clarifying. So the outcome is very similar, even though I completely misunderstood which retention we were talking about, so thank you.
I'm not sure if that was the same question either. I'm talking about the ones that are from other districts coming in and staying here. Because once they're here, they can stay through 12th grade.
Correct.
So do we have like a high retention rate for the outside districts to stay here?
Yes.
Compared to like what you're saying about the families who already live here staying here?
No, I was commenting on the 505 school of choice
Oh, okay.
families. The vast overwhelming majority of the current 500 families that are here through school of choice come to South Redford and remain in South Redford.
Okay. I was thinking like they moved here and they weren't living elsewhere anymore. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm done.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Mr. Johnson.
I think I asked this question a while back. That kids can come in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, right? Second grade.
Correct.
First, second grade.
But if they have
SOAR and then Eagle
but
Scholars.
if they have a brother or a sister that's a 6th or 7th grader, they can't come.
Unless students enter into the Eagle Scholars Program. And they would test into the Eagle Scholars Program, to your point earlier about the Advanced Placement Program or the Eagle Scholars Program. But that's correct, if students are on the honors track.
So if this is,
But if they're not on the honors track, correct.
so maybe we might need to revamp that, because if I have a kindergartner, but I have a 7th grade son or daughter, this kid can come, but only way this kid can get in if they test high.
So,
What if he's just, or she's just a regular kid, that's just a regular student that's just gonna go through a program
Sure.
and just be a regular kid and graduate from high school?
sure.
That's kind of knocking the, kind of kicking ourselves in the, you know.
So, fair point, and thank you for bringing that up, because Tamisha's question a moment ago, depending upon stipulations that the board might be interested in, that could be a stipulation that we could request. Yeah, so, could be up through 5th grade or up to whatever grade, but also with the stipulation of a sibling, or a sibling in the same household, or that could be a stipulation that we could request for the reasons that you're mentioning, if that's something that the board is interested in. Fair point.
Mr. Winston.
To the chair. Mr. Johnson had me think about my block. Now I'm thinking, young man across the street goes to Divine Child. My next door neighbor goes to St. Mary's. The young man on the end goes to a DPS school. None of the kids on my immediate block go to Thurston because they chose to go other places. And I hadn't really thought about it until you brought up, I mean, we're losing kids not because we're a bad district, but because they have more options. They can literally go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think about that until literally you said that. Like, I have no kids on my block that go to Thurston. So, and all of them didn't have anything bad to say against Thurston. They just had better options, or South Redford. So, I mean, we're hemorrhaging right now. And we can continue to wait and have conversations. We can. But 2 years from now, if we still having conversations and haven't acted, I just think the conversation is going to be different. We have an opportunity. And I just don't want us to continue to sit on our hands and wait too long, because it's just not going to be good. These kids are leaving left and right, unfortunately, for other reasons besides we have a bad educational system. They're just going other places. So that's it, Madam President.
Anyone else?
To the chair, can I
Yes.
ask an unrelated question?
Just 1 second. Mr. Winston, I have a question for what you just said. So you're saying that to say, and they might be high school students. So what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we really, I think it's a thing of, if we're gonna go K-5, which I think is a small step. I think we need to think bigger than that, but if that's what we're comfortable with, we at least need to do the sibling thing, because if I live 20 minutes away, I don't have the ability to bounce back and forth with my kids. So I think that's just gonna shoot us in the foot. If we don't think, I'm gonna drive 20 minutes to drop off my third grader, but I gotta drive to get my seventh grader back here, or vice versa. Just, that's a lot to add. So I think that we definitely have to think that we have to really do an influx with the younger kids. I say K through 12, but that's just me. I just have a different process, because I know we're losing a lot of kids in middle school and high school too. I know we're losing a lot of kids there too, but we have to do something soon, seriously.
Okay.
K through 5 with siblings and cousins. Strike the, not the cousin part, just kidding.
I did, I already struck that. Okay, Amanda.
Okay. Kind of piggybacks off of what Daniel was saying. Superintendent Bobrovetsky had brought up before about possibly opening the borders when the Innovation Center is done. Are we going to have a discussion in the future about that? And if so, will that be soon? Because aren't they pretty much done?
They are not pretty much done just quite yet. The time frame is still February of 2024. Yes, we would certainly, have more conversations surrounding that, and I would encourage the board to consider that as a future agenda item. However, I don't foresee that for the upcoming 24-25 school year. If anything, it would probably be for the following school year. We would want to make sure that we have an opportunity to pilot the programming, as well as the staffing, as well as a number of things before we would consider opening up our CTE programs to surrounding districts. So I would anticipate that for the following school year. And we would probably have the conversation sometime about this time next year if that was of interest to the Board of Education.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And of course, we always have word of mouth. Now, I know Daniel will talk to his students on his block, which I talk to everybody. If I'm in the grocery store and I see somebody, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, do you live in South Redford? Or is that little one over there, how old is that little one? And of course, I promote the school that way. But Daniel, to your thing about increasing the open enrollment, let us get past this, and then we're gonna move forward.
All right, just put a little sugar on that, just a little extra sugar on that. It's all right. I know we can't buy it right now, but put it out there.
Anybody else have anything to discuss about open enrollment, K through 5? Yes, Misha.
So, I'm not gonna say no to that, because I think that we could benefit from that, and siblings, that's a good point. But also, part 2 of this is, how are we gonna retain them? Because we're still having a retention problem right now. Middle, high school, that's where the biggest retention is, right? So, retention issue is, and I think that, yes, we should open them up, but we should also just as actively be trying to figure out ways to
Yes.
keep them here. Whatever that looks like, you know.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I did, and that would certainly be a concerted effort. The other piece of information that was provided in advance of tonight's meeting is our class size caps too. So again, based on the direction that the board would like to go, we can impose caps, if you will, too, so that if we exceed a certain amount and we have no more 4th grade seats open, then when we're full, we're full for that time frame. So that is something that we would look to include, and then also progress monitor, and certainly received what Vice President Hurley just shared a moment ago in terms of not only attracting additional school choice families, but also retaining all of our families. So we can certainly beef up those efforts.
Are there any other discussion on open enrollment?
With that, Madam President, is there direction from the board this evening in terms of the consider that the board would like to see at its next board meeting surrounding tonight's discussion? Or is that something that you would prefer to talk about at a later time?
What's the will of the board?
To the chair?
Yes.
I still believe we should tap into the community's feelings, just to be, considerate of the community as a whole. I don't think there's any reason we should have to bring it to a vote next week, or in 2 weeks from time. I would like to see a survey go out to see exactly what the community, feels, maybe with some direction on some of, the board's input was stipulations, if they would allow maybe a couple of questions, if we did this, what would you want, as guidelines or protections in place. I just don't think it's something we should rush to a vote. And I think we need more input besides just 7 board members making that decision.
To the chair.
Yes.
So if we say yes, now, and I don't disagree with the survey going out to the community, when would this be in place? Say we say at whatever time before January, when would the school of choice happen? The following school
Correct.
year?
It would be for fall of '24.
Okay. I'm not opposed to that, to see what people think about it.
I'm not either, but what kind of timeline do we need to give our community? We don't want them to wait till next May to come back with an answer.
Yeah, if I may, Madam President,
Yes.
I would encourage the board, with whichever it may decide to do, that we would move relatively timely, because we do have to declare what our intentions are for the upcoming school year this winter, and we want to make sure that the board has enough time to make whatever decision that they would need to. So I would suggest before the holidays that the board would reach a decision, whichever it might be. And that's if the board chooses to want to go down the
Well,
survey path or not.
And I understand. And as far as the survey, Daniel?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
To the chair. I'm trying to grasp what this survey would look like, because if I ask my next door neighbor or someone else, like, okay, we're thinking about K through 5, what's your thoughts? If the community says we don't want to open it up anymore, then what? Are we gonna say the will of the community is not to do this? And then when we get down to 500 kids, say, well, community, you were wrong? I mean, I think that we have been tasked, voted into these seats for a reason, to make decisions. I mean, and I'm trying to think of the last thing, when we were doing the bond, we asked for community input. But I can't remember another time in my 3 years sitting here that we said, well, let's go ask the community what they think about a decision that we're gonna make at the board table. And I'm not trying to say that not having that information, but I'm just kind of torn, because we have been tasked with making the decisions as board members on this.
And another thing, we still need to grow our school district. And I think that's a responsibility that we all have to do that.
I agree. And that's-
So we would need to, if we do a survey, and I have nothing against a survey, because I think we should do a survey, because we need to know what the community is thinking. That's first, before we did the survey, we needed to know how our teachers felt about K through 5. So And that was done. That was done. So yes, we do need a survey, but if the community, hopefully, and I'm not thinking that everybody will say no, hopefully the community will say, well, yeah, okay, this will make our school district better, because actually the older people are the ones, the older people are the ones that voted for the bond and all of that. So hopefully that our community will send the survey back.
I guess I'm just saying, what is our expectation from the community to give us input on if we should or should not go K-5? Or I guess that's what I'm saying. Either we're making a decision to do it or not. With the bond, I'm thinking, we're like, okay, what do you think about this? Because it affected the schools. I guess if we send the survey out, what are we going to ask them? What are we asking them to give us input back on? Do you like the K-5 model with stipulations?
Well,
I guess.
what I'm thinking is that Mr. Bob and Chris will come together. Maybe we could have 2 board members and come up with the questions.
I'm sorry. To the chair, I guess, Cheryl, what were you thinking? I guess that's really when you said that, I'm kind of seeing
What
you
I'm
were
thinking, and I choose my words really carefully, because I remember, we all know enrollment is declining. But then we also know, as Shirley said, our seniors are the ones that have supported us monetarily. They pay the taxes, they're invested, they own they own their property. There is that side you have to be, and we learned as a district the hard way. The first time we went out years ago for the bond, we underestimated the seniors. We didn't listen to them and see what they had to say, and they didn't pass the bond. They've been very good to us, all right? Yes, we've been elected, but I'm telling you, people that I've talked to since our agenda was posted, they're not so much for opening it even more without certain stipulations. I think we owe it to our community, the ones that are paying the taxes, the ones that are living here, to give input. I mean, they elected us, yes, to be the voice, but my voice that I'm hearing, they're against it without stipulations and guidance. So I'm just saying, out of common courtesy, we reach out to the community. We reach out to our seniors. We couldn't be doing what we're doing now if our seniors hadn't supported us.
So, I just want to get clear. Okay, so you're saying send out a survey to see if, number one, the community wants to do K-5, and if they do, what stipulations they want if we decide to go that way?
No, I think you would have to, you can't leave that open-ended. You would have to draft those questions and hone in on the information. I would keep it very basic, very simple. Would you support?
Yes.
Yeah, would you support us opening, 3 to 5, adding that on, our enrollments down? Be honest and upfront with them. Or do you have a problem with us bringing outside district kids into our district that aren't paying the taxes? Yes, we get the FTEs for them, but they, people complain about so many rentals in our township where people aren't paying into that, but they're reaping the benefits. So I think we just owe it to the community just to see what they actually think, because you might be surprised either way. They might be 100% supportive, go for it, understand it, or you may find that they do not, that we have to dig deeper and look at other options.
Thank you for that. I just want to clarify.
I mean, does that make
No, that's
crazy
fine.
sense?
No,
That's just,
I just wanted to know what you were thinking. I didn't want to say
Yeah.
something I would ask you. That's good.
it's just history there and things that we have learned along the way, that we can't underestimate our community, our people that are struggling to pay the taxes, our seniors that support us. I think we owe it to them. I think it's common courtesy. And right now, I could not, unless we do that, I can't support it, because I think we're turning our backs on those people. But that's just my personal opinion.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Jason mentioned like an enrollment team. Wouldn't they be the ones that we would delegate to him, to delegate to them, to put together the survey?
Is that for me or for the president?
I think she asked me. Well, first of all, I believe that we should have some input as to what we need to ask our community. I just think that your enrollment group, I don't know, maybe we could add 2 board members to that, just for the questions, for the surveys to go out. I just think the board needs to be a part of that.
Should that be the direction of the board, I would agree with that. Madam
What is
President.
the will of the board?
Can I say something first before we get
Yes.
to that part? So Cheryl mentioned the senior citizens, senior community members that vote. But we also have to be very mindful of the community of the children that go to these schools that are here, because they vote as well. And I'm not knocking it, because I do agree with what you said, but that's where we get murky. I think we're thinking too much into it. I agree with the survey. I think we need to know what everybody thinks. Not just, like I said, I'm not knocking anybody in the community, because we all live here. You know, we all support in one way or another. But for those of us who are out in the community and listen and talk to people, not about necessarily opening the enrollment of it, I'm talking about retention. We can open all day, but if nobody comes, or if we can't keep anybody here, I don't want to say then, oh, well, you know, the senior citizens said A, B, and C, so we can do, I don't want to do that. You know, I just want to see what is best for the community, because like Daniel said, you have kids on your street that don't go to Thursday. I have kids on my street that don't go to Pierce. Like a lot of them, you know, and for various reasons, you know, they have noted why or whatever. But I just think that it needs to be a concerted effort with everybody is involved. Because, you know, senior citizens vote, but we, you know, the Gen Xers, we vote too, you know.
When we were saying seniors, we didn't mean just seniors, because, you know, we register a lot of our students that reach the age of
And they vote.
18 and they vote, and they would all be part of who would get the survey also. We talking about voters. So we just not talking about seniors. The only reason why I brought up seniors is because seniors are the ones that vote all the time and pay the taxes. So but I'm talking about everybody that has a voter registration card would get a survey in South Africa.
To the chair.
Yes.
Sorry, can we go back to Jason's question on what we would like to see before voting on it? Because personally, I would like to see what the application looks like for the K-2 families, because that might give us an idea of what the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade application might look like, if they would be the same, or if it would be tweaked a little after we've discussed stipulations. But of course, it's the will of the board, but it's just something that I would be interested in seeing.
So, yes, it would be tweaked, because it'll be different, because, you know, people with younger kids, and then you go 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and that's a different group of students and children. And probably the enrollment committee could put that together. But as far as the survey, I just think, but of course, what does the board think? Does the board think that they need to get involved with the survey going out, questions?
To the chair.
Yes?
I have an idea. If we had anything that we wanted to see on the survey, maybe we could email it to you or Jason, and then whoever's actually working on it could consider that, unless board members actually want to like be there and work on it. But I know Jason said he would like to see the timeline done before the holidays, so that's like a
Yes.
month away.
And that's why I said, I don't have a problem with the survey, but yes, we need to work like yesterday to get this together.
So the chair?
Yes.
I don't think the board needs to be involved. I like the idea if we have any specific questions or things that, you know, Jason's heard every one of us talk, you know, our concerns or ideas. I think, you know, he and his team, whoever can do that and do it quickly, I think we would slow him down bringing in others.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would also want to interject too that we don't have access to all the residents within the South Redford School District for such a survey. What we do have access to is our database of current families within the South Redford School District.
And we can use that.
We can, yes.
To the chair?
I just wanted to share that there's some limitations about how far our reach would go with this survey. Like, for instance, we leveraged some of the tools when we looked at our remote learning during the height of COVID. So there is some limitations to where those communications would
To the chair?
reach.
Yes.
As we know, when we run a campaign, you mentioned voters, registered voters. You can go and pay a small fee at the township and you can get a list of every single registered voter. Anybody running a public campaign or anybody has that access. So it doesn't mean we cannot reach those people you mentioned. That's going to be where the seniors and other people, it would even show our 18-year-olds from the high school, it would show every registered voter in South Redford.
So you
And,
like email a survey link to them or something of that?
well, yeah, where you can just send it out, but you can get that list. And
There's
that's,
access to it depending upon the amount
Yes,
of money
there
and
is.
time that the board wants to put into it. But there would be a monetary
Mhm.
cost
It's a minimum amount.
associated with
It
how
doesn't
far of a
really
reach you'd
cost
like to
that
go in
much
the survey.
because the first time I ran, I got a copy of
Mhm.
that from the township clerk. So it's not like it's outrageous fee, it's not.
Correct. I'm referring to whatever communication the board might wish for it to actually reach their doorstep. And I'm also not sure to what extent email addresses are provided. I'm just sharing that there might be a limitation in terms of how far a potential survey's reach might be, let alone the number of responses that we would get. So that's why I mentioned in terms of how much time and resources, in terms of dollars, might the board wish to spend on such an endeavor. So, just something
What
to
I'll
weigh.
do is I'll check to find out how much a list would cost us. I'll call Tina and ask her if she can tell me that. And I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Well, I think that discussion went very well. And good questions, Amanda, good questions, Daniel, good questions, AJ, good questions, Misha, good questions, Cheryl. So we're gonna get on that. I'm gonna find out, matter of fact, I'll call Tina in the morning. We'll find out and then we'll,
To the chair?
Yes.
Can I, just one thing, I know we use COES, I don't know how to pronounce it, who also run the JCs, they might be able to give us a price estimate on what it would be to text people's phone numbers, because they used to send out surveys that way, and we already employ them, so it wouldn't hurt to ask how much that would cost to send out a text instead of like a paper flyer or
so
something.
would you do that?
I didn't hire
Call
COES.
them?
no, that's Jason's.
Oh, okay, Jason, would you do that?
Glad.
Okay, you know, I try to get everybody involved. Okay. Good discussion. Everybody okay? Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, topics not related to the agenda. Do we have any?
He said no.
A question.
No?
Oh.
All right.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Fill out a card, though.
Oh, I
You
have to
can
fill out a
ask
card.
a question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I had to fill out a card. My name is Tamara Hinton. I live on Norborn Avenue in Redford. I just had a question in regards to the 21F policy that was debated on the last meeting. I know you guys had to vote on it quickly because of something the high school was going on. I just wanted to know, how did that plan work out for the high school?
Sure, the plan is actually on Wednesday this week.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you'd be so kind to leave your contact information with Mr. Jones.
Okay.
I'd be happy to
All right.
give you a call on Thursday.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is the Plus Delta Plan for Improvement, Mrs. Sticks.
Madam President, what processes help the school board work this evening on this?
To the chair?
Yes?
My plus for today would be that every single person participated today. So we heard everybody's voice.
Anyone else? Mine was, it's good to know that we can have good conversation. And this meeting was very productive.
Other pluses? Okay, opportunities for improvement, what processes would help the board's work in the future?
Anyone?
I guess that's enough. We're good.
Well, if there's nothing further that comes before this board, I adjourn this meeting at
7:52.
7:52.